20 most absurd fouls in football. These are the most absurd fouls in the history of football, and let's start right away with some nastiness. Because what Francesco Totti did to Mario Balotelli not only got him sent off, but also resulted in a 4-match ban. It was the 2010 Coppa Italia final, Roma against Inter. The young Super Mario, then 19 years old, was dominating Italian fields and driving opponents crazy. So, with a trophy at stake and less than 3 minutes to play, Totti lost his temper. Even the firefighter was like, "Oh no." And the crazy thing is that Totti later admitted it was intentional. And he wanted to hurt Balotelli for the insults he had received from him for years. And let's continue with a foul committed by one of the nicest guys in football. It was a match between Everton and Tottenham during the 2019 season, and in the 78th minute, Son caused one of the most painful injuries imaginable. He tried to reach the ball, but it was too late, and he hit Gomez's ankle, completely turning it the other way. Players started to panic, and fans who watched it up close were shocked. Son received a red card and was absolutely heartbroken. Obviously, that foul was unintentional, but the top 3 has some crazy incidents that are much more brutal. Let's continue with Sergio Aguero, because after a 1-3 beating in his own stadium, he went leg first and flew straight through David Luiz. The horrible tackle earned Aguero a 4-match ban, and Luiz later claimed to have suffered for 2 years from that reckless challenge. But Aguero had lost control for sure. But at least he wasn't willing to do anything to win, like an amateur player from this tiny country. He almost chopped off Goretzka's head. It happened in the group stage of the World Cup 2022 qualifiers, Germany versus Liechtenstein. And after only 8 minutes of play, a high challenge by this random guy who plays for an amateur club in Switzerland almost broke the jaw of one of Bayern's best midfielders of all time. I'm glad Germany butchered them 9-0. That dude should go back to playing in his crappy little stadium and leave the pros to it. In the next issue, let's say karma hit this player late, because after Shawcross had claimed that the injury he caused to Ramsey in 2010 never affected him, he found himself in a familiar situation in 2019. But nothing compared to Kevin Muscat's tackle that earned him an 8-week ban. And Adrian Zahar was definitely hurt. He needed knee surgery and wouldn't play football for a whole year. Many Australians even claim the incident tarnished his career. But I feel even worse for Gavi, who almost lost an ear during a game against Osasuna. Unfortunately, we can't really show the foul because he was bleeding too much. But the 19-year-old needed medical treatment on the pitch, and his ear was stitched up, which looks painful. This player from Honduras didn't injure 1, but 2 players at the same time. Fortunately, he got sent off. Just like Trigueros, the guy almost broke the ankle of the greatest of all time. Now I understand why he has his legs and shirt insured for $750 million. And with that, we've made it to the top 10. So only the most brutal fouls from here. Just wait until we get to the top 3, starting with this player who clearly decided to seriously injure his opponent. Paulista aimed directly at Vinicius Jr.'s ankle. No wonder he was suspended for 2 games. Hard to forget this foul in the penalty area. Luis Suarez biting Chiellini's shoulder, leaving bite marks? I wouldn't even know how to explain it, and it wasn't even the first time he did it. But that's Suarez. As Chiellini stated a few days later, it happened, and that's his way of dealing with direct confrontations. He and I are similar, and I like to face challenges like this. I admire his cunning. If he lost it, he would become a normal forward. And at 8th place, we have another guy trying to shatter Messi's ankle. At least Lopez later denied intentionally stomping on it. Otherwise, he would have been in trouble for sure. And speaking of trouble, Zinedine Zidane messed up big time during the most important game, and you probably already know where I'm going with this. In the final between France and Italy in the 2006 World Cup at the 110th minute, in a game tied 1-1, he gave the famous headbutt to Marco Materazzi, hitting him in the chest in response to provocation. The stadium fell silent, incredulous in the face of one of the most shocking acts in football history. On his 50th birthday, he explained why he committed that senseless gesture. He said he was tense for the game, and Materazzi kept provoking him by talking about his sister. That headbutt marked the end of Zidane's career, and he left the field in tears. Italy won the game on penalties, but the headbutt remains one of the most controversial and dramatic episodes in football history. In 2014, Jesse Rodriguez, considered the next Cristiano Ronaldo, had his career completely ruined. Running towards the corner flag, he was hit by Kolasinac, who then fell onto his knee. Looking at his face, his anterior cruciate ligament was torn to pieces, and he was sidelined for 9 months. After that, he was never the same again and changed clubs several times. Now he plays for Las Palmas in the second Spanish division. This outrageous ankle foul on Diaby resulted in an unfortunate record. 3 different surgeries and an 8-month recovery period were needed, but he never fully recovered because the French midfielder eventually spent 1,747 days off the field, almost 5 years, becoming the record holder for having missed more playtime than any other football player in the world. But at least he wasn't as close to having his foot amputated as Cease. At first, it doesn't look like much happened, but if you look at the replay from this angle, he broke his leg and was on the sidelines for 10 months. But things could have played out a whole lot worse, according to his doctor. If blood circulation at your foot was irrigated after 30 minutes to an hour, it would have to be amputated. Even Nainggolan immediately sought the help of doctors after the brutal intervention on Mattiello during the match on March 8, 2015. It was a normal challenge. Unfortunately, Mattiello's leg got stuck between Nainggolan's, causing a serious injury to the debutant. Compound fracture of the tibia and fibula. It was only his second start, and he had to undergo 5 operations in 7 months to return to play. But no hard feelings. In 2020, they became teammates at Cagliari. And with that, we've reached the top 3 of the dirtiest fouls in football history. At number 3, we have to go back to 2006 again, October 14th, Reading against Chelsea. After only 20 seconds of play, Petr Cech was hit in the face by Stephen Hunt, resulting in one of the most terrifying moments in football. The goalkeeper suffered a fractured skull, couldn't play for 2 months, and wore his iconic headband for the rest of his career. Obviously, Hunt was devastated for causing such a serious injury. But at number 2, Zlatan was out for revenge together with Juventus against Inter, and all he wanted was to find the net. But what Marco Materazzi wanted was to kick him out of the game. Zlatan was struggling to walk after that hit, but we know Zlatan. He had to get his revenge. However, he never got it in that game because his manager subbed him off, in case he would do something stupid. When they faced each other again a couple of years later, Ibra knew what he had to do, but Marco beat him to it. Yes, Zlatan couldn't believe what had hit him. What audacity! Well, Ibrahimovic was furious, so as soon as he approached, oh my God, that kick to the chest and elbow to the face sent Marco to the hospital. But at number 1, the most brutal foul. To understand this rivalry, we have to go back to 1997. Alfie Haaland, Erling's father, played as a right back for Leeds, and Roy Keane was one of the Manchester United's best midfielders at the time. Keane was going for goal, but Haaland stepped him, and Keane was in agony. Haaland thought he was feigning an injury to get a penalty, so he shouted at him to get up. But in reality, Keane had actually torn his anterior cruciate ligament, so he missed the rest of the season, and that day etched in his memory. When the two collided again 3.5 years later in April 2001, Haaland at Manchester City and Keane at United, Roy was full of resentment and ready for revenge. As soon as Haaland touched the ball, Keane intervened immediately with a reckless tackle. He was directly sent off, fined £5,000 and suspended for 3 games. But 1.5 years later, when the Irishman admitted that the foul had been premeditated, he was suspended for another 5 games and fined £150,000. It takes very little to ruin someone's life, and while these players are still alive despite everything, other players haven't been so fortunate. These are the most heartbreaking moments in football history. Click if you want to know more. The video is over. Click here.